hungry already, actually.
Oh, we both need to read the notes.
Okay, do it really quickly because I like the recording. I'm concerned that you're laughing.
Any guesses?
The game makers.
It for reason.
Blue?
Block?
Bile? What's the context?
Mockingjays send messages in 11. Sharing info is so key. The game makers for reason.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I know how things work. Right.
Hello, and welcome to Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast where two girls have a really busy summer and just don't record anything for 2 months. I'm Charlie.
And I'm Hannah, and we're 2:30. So hold on, I actually have to read this then. Something's combining hopefully intelligent literary. And I'm Hannah, and we're 2:30. Something's combining hopefully intelligent literary criticism with drunken chaos.
We're currently reading The Hunger Games, and then in this episode, we are reading probably 16 to 18.
We normally record this afterwards, so we know what chapters
We normally kind of know. I think we basically record it and then re-record it if we were wrong.
Okay.
Let me do that again. We're currently reading The Hunger Games, and in this chapter, we are... I love words. We're currently reading The Hunger Games, and in this episode, we're going to be discussing chapters 16 to 18.
So, grab a book. No. Grab...
So
any
long.
Book. Grab any book.
It's so long.
Hold your books.
Cannot podcast it.
So, grab a drink, crack open a book. So, grab a drink, crack open a book, and read along with us.
Woo! So one of our most said openings is like, oh, it's been so long, it feels like it's been literally 2 months
since we recorded.
Which is cool.
And that recording session was to get us ahead.
Well, the thing is, we did so because we knew that this was going to happen because we basically had all of July that we were just completely opposite schedule. It was probably we had about a period of 6 weeks where we were on completely opposite schedules. So we knew recording wasn't going to be a thing, and we worked 4 months to record ahead because we knew that was going to happen, and we did. It was not far enough ahead.
No,
it really wasn't.
So sorry there's been a gap. When we are not running 2 podcasts, that hopefully won't happen, or if it does happen, we're able to prepare for it more and put out things and episodes in between, but because we were running both,
we normally do either take a month off, either January, but then more recent years it's normally been a month in the summer, but this was 2 months, so we do apologize. That was quite long since the last time we recorded 2 months ago. Hannah went to Glasgow. I went to Sweden for the first time. I went on a cruise. What else has happened?
I started my own business. I produced an entire other podcast, which is now finished and come out.
Do you want to say what it is?
Yeah, no,
it's
I'm
really
cool.
cool.
I'm if anyone's following my personal Instagram, I've been posting quite a bit about it. I end-to-end produced the podcast Jacqueline Wilson Raised Us, which was a mini-series in celebration of Jacqueline Wilson's new adult book with Jacqueline and other guests in collaboration with Cosmo and Penguin. It's a really fun 4-episode podcast, produced, scripted and edited by me. So if anyone, I think a few people did clock, they were like, Drunk Girls aren't posting and Hannah's doing something else. So I was like, that is my job now. I'm not just doing that for fun. So did that. Jacqueline Wilson's an angel. Love her. Love her.
That's such a cool thing to work on. I feel like Jacqueline Wilson really is the girly of our generation.
She is, truly.
I really missed out on this. I'm the only person that I know of our age group that was obsessed. I wasn't allowed to read her books. I wasn't allowed to watch Tracy Beaker. So all of this completely passed me by. But regardless, it's really cool.
The thing is, this will pass everyone by who isn't British, because something I've discovered in producing this is how insular this is to British culture. We've got a lot of friends in London who are European or different nationalities. Not a single one of them has known what I'm talking about and who this woman is and what a Tracy Beaker is. It's so British. I
can't remember what it was the other day, but something happened the other day where I realised most of my friends are foreign.
Mine?
Yeah. I'm trying to remember what it was that I was oh, I need someone British or something. I can't remember. Or maybe I made some kind of, and I was
who?
No one is British.
Me?
So
yeah, it is. It's just, it's a nice part of London living, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah. What else?
I don't know, but I went to Nikita and Ken's 10-year wedding anniversary.
Yes, that's
which
a
was
big one.
Horrifying. I did not realise I was old enough to have friends that'd been married for 10 years.
I couldn't go because I had another wedding.
Yeah, so massive congratulations to Nikita and Ken. I think I probably annoyed all of their friends. I told a bunch of scientists that science wasn't real. None of them got the joke and laughed. Think they were all horrified. I ruined at least one guy's childhood by telling him about J.K. Rowling and just shitting all over Harry Potter. I insulted someone else that not only is from where I'm from, but actively made the choice to move back there. I just spent ages dunking on how shit it was, and he was like, yeah, I did choose to move back there. I'm like, that's on you.
What?
It's a shithole. Yeah, so I'm really sorry, Nikita and Ken. And I understand if I'm not invited to the 20th. I get socially anxious and my mouth just...
Word vomit. So that's where we've been. But all of those things we just mentioned, while one of us was doing one of us would be in London, and then we'd just swap.
Yeah.
And neither of us would be in London not doing something at the same time.
Yeah. How was Glasgow?
Glastonbury was great. Annoyingly, I came back as that person like, yeah, it's really great. I'm going to keep going.
There's just nothing like the farm.
I went fully like, I'm just going to go once to tick it off and I'm going to enjoy myself and that's going to be it. And now I'm like, yeah, I'm going to keep trying for tickets every time because that was excellent and I loved it. And I'm not the biggest like music person. I'm just friends and
you
with
are.
Neil, who is
you love
huge
Taylor
music.
Swift and One Republic.
Who are big music people, but because there's so many other things there.
Yeah.
It does really suit if you're not... I mean, I did really enjoy the music, but there are other things to do.
Yeah.
And it was just great. Got lucky with the weather. Managed to sleep in a tent for at least 4 hours a night, which is a functionable amount.
Just get a better tent. I think if you are going to consistently start doing it every year, invest in a really good tent.
I mean, I didn't even have one. I borrowed one.
Yeah, but so invest in a good one. One with like temperature control.
Yeah, that was the
and...
main thing. The heat woke you up at 7 a.m. regardless of what time you went to bed.
I genuinely think if that's something you're doing yearly, like it is really worth, especially because it's the kind of thing like you're not going to be getting a lot of sleep anyway. So I feel like the sleep you do get, I think it's worth the money.
Yeah. There's a lot of... That's the other reason I think people who've gone once want to go again, because there's a lot you learn from the first time of like, I'd improve that. I'd do that differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah. How was Sweden?
Sweden was just the best.
Your reaction to Sweden is like my reaction to Glastonbury. Like you just become that annoying. We become those annoying people who are like, yeah, no, it's so great. It was great. I'm like, the farm is great. And you're like, I'm going to become Swedish.
Yes.
Yes.
Well, you say I'm going to become Swedish. You know what's so funny? My dad, who like his side of the family is Irish to the point I can get an Irish passport. But who everyone is like, your dad is not Irish. That is an Italian man. And like, he does look Italian,
He does,
right?
yeah.
He did one of those DNA things.
Oh.
He like is like 1% Irish.
How if his whole family's Irish?
Don't know.
So lying.
He is 0% Italian. He is 2% Swedish. Which is also, I mean, I now want my mum to do one because, like, my mum is where I get the blonde blue eyes from. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, surely if I was... And now I know it's going to come back. There's going to be no Swedish on that side. And it's going to be so fucking funny that I'm going to be like, oh, yeah, the 2% Swedish is from my very dark-haired tan dad.
Yeah.
But, I mean, 2% is nothing. And it's also just white. I really get annoyed by people, you know, white people when they're like, oh, like, well, what are you? And they're like, oh, so I'm 2% Swedish and I'm 1% Dutch. And you... Shut up.
Well, it's also the country lines have moved so much, so that smaller percentage wouldn't exist when those country lines were drawn up.
Exactly. But I just found that very amusing. And then so I texted it to my best friend Elle, who's Swedish, who I went to Sweden with. And then she just sent me like a load of Swedish text and then like I had to translate it. And then it was basically her just being like, welcome Dave to being Swedish. And then I sent it to him. It was very cute. But yeah, Sweden, loved it. Really quite annoyed because you know how some people really idolize like Paris or New York and they're like really, they've never been there, but they have this really obnoxious like, I just want to move to Paris even though they've never been. That was me when I was younger about Sweden. I don't know why. I just really had this like obsession with Sweden despite having never been there. And then I met my Swedish best friend and then she was like, Sweden's not all that, you really idolize it. And then I grew up and realized that like, yeah, she's correct, I've never been there, that's insane. And then part of the reason why she took me to Sweden for my 30th was to show me that it's not all that. And it's so backfired. And now I'm so annoyed that young me, teenage Charlie, was actually correct about something, which is the first. I loved it so much. I was just immediately like, I'm going to move there one day. It is stunning. It's so cool. I felt so at home. Like, I preferred it to Berlin. And I've always said that Berlin is like the one place I've been outside of England where I'd be like, oh yeah, I'd move here, like for sure. I loved it so much. I also went on a cruise that was around Spain and Italy. I love Spain.
You saw Pompeii. I'm very jealous. I've always wanted to see Pompeii.
It was
it's on my bucket
so
list.
Fucking good. I loved it. Like, I really wanted to go because I wanted to, it sounds so dumb. I wanted to go because I wanted to see it, but I also didn't really expect to love it, if that makes sense. I was like, oh yeah, that'll be fun and interesting. And no, I literally loved it. It was absolutely fascinating and stunning and just like,
I'm glad.
so
I was slightly
exceeded.
worried you'd come back and be like, oh, people talk about it all the time, but you've either seen it all or there's only one bit that looks the way they say it looks and everything else is really boring and just ruins. And I would be like, oh no, my childhood dreams shattered. I used to want to be an archaeologist and I am a bit of a history nerd.
I used to want to be an archaeologist, but like not in any way because of a love of history, purely because when I wanted to be an archaeologist was when I was a child, but because when we moved when I was about like 6, like there was, this is so random, there was like this massive, like it was kind of like a hill in my garden, like a bank for some reason, and I used to dig in it.
That's why I wanted to be an archaeologist.
But was there loads of like
pottery?
What the fuck?
I had it all in a bag in my room, like, and then I displayed it all on my shelves. Yeah, when my parents like redid the garden, my mum had a vegetable patch at the back, and she was like, "Oh, there's stuff in the ground, like loads of pottery," and she just let me like for months dig through it and dig up all the pottery like an archaeologist, and I got a brush and everything.
That's so odd. Like,
it's odd that this has never been brought up because we have loads of weird similarities like this.
Yeah.
This is the first time this one has come up.
Remember when we like first started getting close and at one point we had to show each other photos of our dad?
Yeah, we were literally like 3.
We were like
2.
Let's check
this my dad.
This isn't like a 2 family, like, yeah, secret family situation.
We had 2 families.
Yeah. Wow. But like, okay, that clearly means that there's a reason that sometimes in soil there's loads of smashed up pottery, right?
Well, yeah, I looking back now, I'm older. Mum fully was like, yeah, it could be Roman.
No.
It wasn't,
No.
obviously. Mum was just like being nice. But I am confused at why there was a load of smashed pottery in the ground.
The thing is, I could Google
Drainage?
this. That's the only thing I can think. But like, I could Google this right now, but I don't want to because someone's going to know. And
Yeah.
I would rather
Just
find
comment
out
it.
from the comments.
Just comment it for us.
So if you know, please. But yeah.
Did anyone else dig in their ground?
I
and
know, I used to like
archaeologists?
dig and like find all this like smashed up pottery, and then I really wanted to be an archaeologist. And also because I watched Indiana Jones, obviously, and I genuinely thought that that was what being an archaeologist was.
It is one of those jobs which is like, it's not like full on like astronaut, vet, but it is high up there on jobs kids say they want to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
Anyway, that's where we've been.
Yeah.
What the fuck else do we do in these intros? What we're drinking, what we're reading. Is that it?
Yeah.
What we're drinking? Because you've drunk half of it.
Oh yeah, sorry. We are drinking. We literally raided my cupboard and the only mixer I had was Coke. And then I was like, oh, let's do amaretto and Coke.
And I said, that doesn't look like an amaretto. And you said, no, it'll just be a weak one. It's fine.
And then I literally poured it out and it was like beyond weak. So then I added vodka. It's actually nice. I mean, I've drunk half of it already, so I do need to put it down.
What you've done there is improve a vodka and Coke massively.
Yeah.
It's lovely.
It's actually nice. I do.
You will have also seen this is the beer we had for pre-drinking.
Yeah.
We normally have a beer while we're setting up just because the point of the podcast is we're tipsy already. And it normally takes us like an hour to set everything up and we're chatting.
Yeah.
So we normally have a beer and I'm drinking really slowly because if you can hear from my voice, I am slightly hungover today. So I'm drinking this beer really slowly.
Yeah.
Sorry about the husk.
She's a pussy. Hannah, what are you reading?
I'm currently reading Calabasas by R F Kuang. You'll notice this isn't the regular cover.
She's going to be really obnoxious and show off.
It's a numbered proof. It's actually got a number in it. So I am going to show it off because it's 497. So I'm going to show off that I have the 497 proof in the UK.
I said wow and it sounded really sarcastic.
Wow.
That actually wasn't sarcastic.
No. Not that much showing off when the book is now out and I'm reading the proof. It looks more cool when you're reading it like 3 to 4 months before. Anyway, yes, I'm reading
Oh,
Katniss.
that's the thing. I would have, even if I wasn't ready to start it, I 100% would have got on the tube and just like this.
Reading, I know. I'm reading Katniss. Neil actually read it before me because I had to do the reading for work, so I couldn't read this. And he was like, "It's just sitting in the house. Can I have it?" And I was like, "No." And in the end, he took it from me and just read it. I 20% of the way through. Don't want to say too much because it really hasn't been out long. It's tonally really interesting. I was expecting, because it's also dark academia, for it to be not as heavy as Babel, but more swayed towards that. But it's not. It is, although it's about a very academic subject, the tone and the language is very readable, much lighter, much more similar to a typical fantasy, or even like marketable fantasy now, or even a romantasy. It's like, it has got a strong romance plotline in there, which I saw in the marketing, but actually really wasn't expecting it to fully read, like, I don't want to give anything away, but almost tropes that are like the sharing one bed trope. I wasn't expecting that from Kuang, and I'm really interested to see how that develops throughout the book, because it's a bit different for her as an author, but also based on loving Babel and Yellowface. I trust her with any genre. So yeah, really enjoying that. And then, are you going from the bottom to the top, or from the top to the bottom?
I'm going to do my currently and then go back to the start.
Great. Okay. So I skipped a load though. That was the thing. The last one I talked about was that, but I never talked about that. I never talked about that. I never talked about that. So I won't talk about that one. A book I've read.
Feel free to talk about 3 you want.
No, I'll do 2. And then a book I've read in the last few months was What We Left Unsaid by Winnie M. Lee. I think I read that a bit early, but I think that published in August. We're in August now. It's a road trip novel, which I haven't read loads of. It's quite an American thing, a road trip novel, and it is set in America. And it's about this Asian family, this Taiwanese Chinese family, who the parents moved to the US. So the kids are all US citizens, but they're first generation after their parents immigrated. And it's kind of about that experience as an Asian American seen through the lens of a road trip novel, which is quite like a trope in the US. But it deals with a lot of current things in the US. So it deals with kind of post-COVID stuff, and that comes up a lot because obviously like there was quite a lot of racial hatred towards Chinese people. It deals with like gun violence and homophobia because one of the children is gay, and it deals with all these topics whilst these siblings just like have this road trip, but they're also looking back from when their parents did the road trip as newly immigrated people and kind of what their parents faced in the kind of 90s versus now. So it all sounds really heavy, but it was very like page turnery, and you're going through all these states in America, and even though they're talking about bad things, I love road trips. Like in a personal way, I love road trips, and for years I always wanted to do an American road trip. I don't so much want to now, American climate, but I still love the idea of like how big a country America is, how many different cultures you can kind of experience in one drive, and I just love the freedom of a road trip. So still, even when they're talking about all this bad stuff, it's still brought up this kind of like, wow, I want to do this, which I think the novel was aiming to do, because road trips just have this appeal. So it walked a very good line between that. And yeah, it was just like not like anywhere near a 5-star read. I think I 3.5'd it, but it was just a good, enjoyable, interesting read. Yeah. Good. What are you reading?
So I am actually reading my first R F Kuang.
Yes, I'm so excited.
So I had really mixed feelings about if I wanted to read any of her books.
Okay.
And then literally, so
why?
Okay, because she is so ridiculously successful.
It's actually insane. Like, I genuinely think she is a genius. And
yeah.
She's only 29, for the love of God.
Yeah, I find really successful, accomplished people incredibly irritating. I purposely only befriend really unsuccessful, unintelligent losers. I try not to surround myself with that kind of negative energy of people who have everything going really well for them. So yeah, I didn't really want to read any of her work. And then the other night I finished an audiobook and realized something that very rarely happens. I was down to no like Audible credits. By the way, fuck Amazon. But I'm so far into the fucking Audible trap now that like I'm stuck. Like when I got into it, there was no decent alternative for audiobooks.
I think I'm allowed to say this rumor because they are kind of announcing it publicly. Bookshop.org are working on getting audiobooks in the next year.
Yeah.
To 6 months to a year.
So yeah,
watch this space.
Do that if you can.
Yeah.
But I'm now probably about 5 years deep into
You've sold your soul. It's gone. It's been written away.
I'm fucking stuck. So this is not me promoting Audible. Fuck Amazon, guys. But I'm stuck. I'd like run out of the credits, right? And that really rarely happens. And they had an offer on to get 5 for like ridiculously cheap. So I got 5 credits. And I was like really excited. Oh my God, I get to go like shopping for audiobooks. Like I've got 5. Like that's so exciting. And then I went to bed and then I woke up the next day and was like, right, I'm going to pick. And then I was like, I do not know what I want to audiobook because I've actually done quite a lot of my TBR this year to the point that a lot of the stuff that's left on it is quite involved fantasy, where either I just wasn't in the mood for it or I wasn't sure about audiobooking it versus reading, even though I do have a very high audiobook comprehension because I grew up on them. Like I don't know, I can do really epic fantasy on an audiobook, but like depending what it is, sometimes I'm not sure going into it. But like I've audiobooked Sanderson and that's fine. I don't know. I just really didn't know what I wanted to read and I went through all of my TBRs and really thought about stuff. I watched loads of TikToks and I didn't know what I was in the mood for, blah, blah, blah. And then I kind of spontaneously was like, fuck it, Yellowface.
Yeah. Fuck it. I'm going to do some Yellowface. Like, I've decided to do some... The thing with Yellowface is, luckily it's become such a popular book that you can say that now, knowing that people know it's a book. But when it first came out, I remember being like, people would just be like, so Yellowface on TikTok. And I'm like, what? I know that was her intention, but Jesus Christ.
Yeah, to anyone that doesn't realise that was a book, that sounded like I was like, I couldn't decide what to read, so I decided to do some Yellowface. Just decided to do a hate crime.
Giant race.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of semi-spontaneous. And that was probably about like a day ago, and I'm already like probably halfway. And to be honest, if fucking Hannah wasn't here, I probably would have finished it today. Like, I'm so irritated that... so far at least it lives up to the hype. I just can't put it down. It's just really fucking good. Literally has had me yelling at the audiobook. Like the protagonist is just so brilliantly fucking insufferable. So yeah, I will update with thoughts when I finish because I don't want to I definitely have some kind of criticisms right now, but I don't want to say them before getting to the end because I think that a lot of them might get wrapped up. But right now I just absolutely cannot put it down. It's so good and I'm really irritated.
I don't know why you don't want to like her this much. I get it. I do get it.
It's jokes aside, it's genuinely not that. It's just there's something when something is so overhyped and everywhere. I still have that really obnoxious pretentious hipster instinct to not want to, and it's not an active thing of me wanting to be different or subversive in any way. It's literally just when something is so oversaturated for some reason it slightly puts me off. And I don't know, I wasn't fully I'm never gonna read her, but I wasn't desperate to or anything. And sometimes as well, sometimes it's a bit of a case of when you know you're gonna enjoy something, I tend to avoid it. I've still never read any Pratchett because I'm oh no, I'm gonna love it, it's gonna be life-changing, so I'm kind of savoring it, if that makes sense. But yeah and then the second one that I read, and this is going back a couple of months now, was And Then There Were None, which is a Christie that I read because Hannah, Nikita and Nayana all agreed that it's your favourite Christie. It is. And they wanted me to read it, and I did not love it. I liked it. I gave it a 3.5, so 3 for me is good, 4 is great. So 3.5 is a very, very respectable rating. I think for me, with that kind of genre or just Christies in general, I like a whodunit, as in a detective riddly kind of whodunit, and this wasn't that. So I did still really enjoy it. I felt disappointed by then the whodunit because it almost felt predictable to the point where I didn't predict it because I didn't consider it an option because I went, no, that's too predictable in my brain. And I think, I don't know. I did really like it. I think it's really natural to say the most negative things going into it.
It's also hard when 3 people whose opinions you trust have gone, this is my favourite. I think I would always then almost lowball something because my expectations would be up here based on 3 people saying it's their favourite.
I just think, I went into Christie with Murder on the Orient Express, and the whodunit off that genuinely had me that was really fucking good. And then, so with this I just felt a bit
the quite funny thing about And Then There Were Charlie reading And Then There Were None, and I hope I can talk about this in an amusing way, and I hope this is taken in an amusing way, is you were reading it on Kindle. Obviously Kindle is selling the most up-to-date version of it, which is And Then There Were None, and every reference is changed to Soldier Island, and the poem is 10 Little Soldiers. That book has been through 3 different names, 2 of them highly offensive and racist. And you didn't know about that.
No.
And because you were reading the Kindle, there's no clue. There's nothing. Was there even a note at the beginning that they had changed anything?
If there was, I didn't read it.
The version I have is called And Then They Were None, but everything on the inside is still the original. So the title had changed, which happened in about 1970, I believe. There was a change. So the original book was published, racist name. Then there was another racist name for about 5 years. And then they changed it again about 1970. But the cover I have, which was a school's edition, by the way, which is really worrying, from about 2000, cover has the new name. Everything on the inside is still the original. So you were like, guys.
As in the N-word?
Yeah, because I sent you a photo. So you were like, guys, did you know this? And I was like, yeah, I knew this, because I then sent you a photo of my copy, like, this is the poem.
No, because like one of you told me like, oh, it was like really racist and then it was changed. And like, this is the thing, I'm so fucking naive that when, I can't remember which one of you told me that, I was like, oh, so it was Slave Island. Like, I just went like, it literally, I don't know. I think I was going off it being like Soldier Island. I was thinking S. I was like, oh God, yeah, that's really not great. The fact that it was Slave Island. And then I think you guys talked about it more and I was like, oh, I don't think it was Slave Island.
No. My copy is the N-word throughout. Then there's a 5-year period, and I've never found any of these books. Bear in mind, please, I'm not on the hunt for these copies in the 5 years, where they changed it from the N-word to...
I think it was Indians.
Yeah, I think so. Which is still...
And it's also... Changing it from that to that is also racist in itself.
It's like so many layers of racism
like,
here.
Not even being like consistently racist to the same people.
Yeah. So it really made me laugh when you found out, because I just thought that was common knowledge, but it's a good thing it's not common knowledge. It's a good thing that everyone just thinks it's Soldier Island and then there were none. But what makes me laugh is mine from the outside looks non-racist. And then you open the page and it's literally like,
yeah,
jump scare.
Yeah. And I will say that was also very distracting when reading. The knowledge of that then is hard to forget or overlook. But yeah, despite that, I did enjoy it, but I definitely preferred Murder on the Orient Express.
That's fair. And that's what we've been reading recently.
Well, it's not. There's so much more else.
There's so much more. But remember, any books we mention will be on ourbookshop.org, which I just mentioned, and also is launching ebooks in October. So if any of you are like, I don't buy physical books, that's a new way to buy ebooks that supports your local bookshop.
Slay.
Should we actually talk about the Hunger Games?
We probably should.
We are on chapter 16. Oh, they're snuggled up. They're asleep snuggling. Katniss knows they both can't win. That was literally my note, like, oh, they're snuggled up. She knows one of them must die.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not very nice.
If only there could be 2 winners.
A cannon wakes Katniss. Someone's dead. I actually can't remember who it is. I have no clue. It doesn't matter. Clearly, this was not a named character. I'm not drinking for them. I don't know who they are. You earlier were like, why are you laughing while you reread your notes? That's worrying. I'll tell you what I was laughing at.
Tell you for why.
So Rue has snuck out the sleeping bag and gone and foraged eggs from a nest, because Rue, the amazing climbing tree jumper. Yeah. The amazing climbing tree jumper. She's a spider monkey. Yeah. And she can fly through the trees like Edward Cullen. Yeah. She's foraged some eggs, and then because they don't want to light a fire, they suck out the raw inside of the eggs. Like, they put a hole in it and then suck it out. It's disgusting. This is why I wouldn't have survived the Hunger Games, because I'm not sucking out the inside of a raw egg. Yeah.
I meant to say this at the top of the episode, but I think throughout this episode, there's going to be, as always, we're not spoiler free, so there will be spoilers for the 2 other books as well as the original Hunger Games. But I just want to flag that in particular there is going to be in the next few chapters. So as normal, we will have the timestamps down below. So do check that. Yeah. I meant to say that at the top of the episode. I didn't, so I'm saying it now. Great. So they're kind of chatting and they discussing the fact that the only other time that tributes win is when careers don't have food. Yes. Because that's kind of the make or break. Yeah. And then Rue's like, yeah, but like, they do have the food. And Katniss is like, but what if they didn't have the food? And a plan starts to form. Yes. Katniss tries to give Rue the Mockingjay pin.
Yeah.
which is very cute.
Yeah.
A little bit ungrateful maybe, but
You have this, I don't want it.
sure is Katniss. But Rue shows her charm that she has, and it's a carved, Katniss thinks is either like a star or a flower on a string. And we've now seen this before,
Yeah.
which is like such a nice like
Linking point.
time
Yeah.
kind of thing. The kind of thing that, yeah, it rewards you on the reread.
Yeah. It's interesting that other districts, therefore we can learn from this, have these kind of repeating, what are they called?
Motif?
No, motifs, but what are the actual things called in the games?
Oh, token?
Tokens. Yeah, that have these repeating tokens. But as far as we can tell, there is no repeating token for 12. Like, the fact that Madge gives Katniss the pin seems relatively random, and we have no idea what Peter has as a token. So there doesn't seem to be a constant for 12.
He's got some yeast. He's got a face painting kit, actually.
God's sake. So they're basically using this to talk about their districts, which we've already discussed how the Capitol explicitly don't want them to be doing this, because the more they learn about the districts, the less they see each other, and the districts in general see each other as enemies. The more you share information, the more likely it is the districts to align. Something Katniss kind of disagrees with Rue, but doesn't really understand her on, is Rue is talking about music and how 11 is really musical, and Rue in particular loves music, and they always sing while they work. And Katniss thinks music is useless. Her likes are literally ranked in terms of survival. The things she likes in life are the things most likely to keep her alive. However, I don't think this is just like Katniss being, the more I read this book, the more I'm like, Katniss is so autistic about things. But like, this isn't just Katniss being like, I don't like music because it's not useful. That's like her childish brain thinking that. I also think now, having the context from the 2 prequels, music has been intentionally stamped out by Snow in District 12 in particular, because he himself witnessed it as a tool for uprising.
Yeah.
So we don't see instances of music. We're about to see later Katniss knows like a lullaby, and she does know some music. She says her dad used to sing, but it's not a big thing in 12. But we know from previous books it was a huge thing. So this is quite an intentional move from Snow to make sure that it's declined massively in 12, because it can be so dangerous. And we know it can be dangerous even in this trilogy. We're going to learn that because some of the songs do become dangerous. And I just really like this throughfare of music throughout all 5 books. I think it's not something I've seen a lot, like music used as such a big plot device. And it's a hard thing to put in a book as well, because you're not singing it.
Yeah. So they form a plan and separate. Katniss is thinking about what happened with Peter and like wondering kind of where his loyalties lie. She thinks about the fact that he was sparkling and thinks that it leads her to doubt everything. He's just Edward Cullen. That's clearly wasn't here.
Sparkling, I think, Edward.
Yeah.
But I don't know which published first, this or Twilight.
I think it was this.
Yeah. I had a bit more to say about the Mockingjays.
Soz.
No, it's fine. So she tries to give him the Mockingjay pin, and that starts a conversation about Mockingjays, which links to the singing conversation. Because Rue says the singing, and then the Mockingjays pick it up and they repeat. And then we get the explanation, I'm not sure if we've already had it, but we get more of the explanation of Mockingjays repeat. But Rue says specifically that they use the Mockingjays to also send messages in 11, basically sending out the message that they're done for the day, or that there's danger or something like that. And Rue shows Katniss this 4-note thing, which always sticks in my mind as the films do it. To be able to show Katniss that she's safe. I find it really weird that there are Mockingjays in the arena, because Snow hates them. We know this from Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes. I find it really weird that he allows them to be in the arena, and maybe this is one of the... We're kind of seeing multiple ways where he did actually back off too much of controlling the games by this point, because we know that whoever the game maker is for these games ends up being murdered because he is deemed as at fault for Katniss and Peter winning. And I think from that, and the fact that like the berries are in there, and the fact that like the Mockingjays are in there, I don't think Snow had as much a handle on these games as we see later in the next book, but previously in the prequels.
Yeah, which makes sense for him to have backed off. He's got like other shit to do for sure. I think it's really interesting, and I don't know how much. I'm trying to distinguish in my brain what we learn in later books versus what's like maybe just in the films, but obviously we kind of see, what's the current game maker?
I can never remember his name.
Thingy, and then obviously we later also see Plutarch being really in his ear about like the strategy behind things. And I think it's quite interesting because I can totally see the whole 2 tributes thing and then turning it around to make them kill each other be something that Snow approved, right?
Yeah.
It feels very Snow. You know, if the fact that there is this romance being led on screen by Peter and then people are getting a bit outraged by it, it feels very Snow to approve a plan that's like, okay, let's make them turn on each other because then it will completely invalidate the romance.
Yeah, it's clever.
And it will squish all of that. So I actually like kind of have a headcanon that Snow did approve this, and I feel like even if he had taken a step back from like micromanaging the games, I feel like that's a big enough thing to make a complete alleged rule change is big enough where I feel like he still would have had to have approval. So my headcanon is that the head game maker had actually discussed this with Snow and been like, hey, I think we should do this.
Yeah.
You know, say there's a rule change and that they both can win, and then the last minute they'll have to take each other out.
Yeah.
And Snow had been like, great idea, that's approved. But then once it backfires, he then still blames him.
Yeah.
Which I will say is a very leadership thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of shitty leaders that will do that, either to approve an idea or it actually be their idea until the moment it fails, and then they'll turn it around on other people.
Definitely.
So I definitely headcanon this being actually Snow had signed it off until it went wrong.
Yeah, I can see that. Because the blame they try to place is on the berries. And it's like, but there are multiple ways they could have done a murder-suicide. Like, this isn't...
Yeah.
Or, like, a dual suicide. It's not the berries' fault. It was you changing the rules and not thinking they'd both kill each other rather than win.
Yeah.
Not kill each other. Kill
themselves
themselves rather than win.
Yeah.
So, as you said, they come up with a plan. And we know it's something to do with the food. The book does the tactic of them, Katniss especially, because she's the first person narrator, not telling the reader what the plan is, so that we as the reader can find it exciting and suspenseful as we go through. I always find this, the older I get, more and more difficult to read, because when you have set up a character to be telling you everything that's going through their head at the time it's going through their head, I always find it jarring when you then have them hide information for the purpose of it revealing itself to the reader in an exciting way. This happened at the end of the last Harry Potter book, and I found it quite jarring because we have never not learnt what Harry wants to do at any given point, and I found it jarring here. However, there isn't really a way around it, and it is just like a writing technique.
Yeah. I don't mind it too much here because it's kind of the fact that we don't know doesn't in any way impact what happens.
Yeah.
My biggest pet peeve in books is, and I'm going to say it straight up, thrown a glass, spoilers, is when authors do it where there's like a plot twist and they don't let you inside a character's head to see the plan. Or they do, but they say this is the plan, but actually there's a second secret plan.
Yeah.
That's when it annoys me, because we're either in that character's head or we're not. If there's a second secret plan, if we hear about the first plan from their thoughts, we should hear about the second plan from their thoughts. That, or you need to give us some reason that, let's say they're telling people the plan, but there's someone not trustworthy in the room.
Yeah.
You need to put in a plot device why we haven't heard the whole plan.
Yeah.
But it's something that Sarah J. Maas does about 15 fucking times in every book, at least twice a book. There is a plan, and you think the plan's going wrong. Oh no, there was a secret second plan. The plan was that the plan would go wrong because then there's a secret second plan. At least twice a book.
Yeah.
I really wish I was being dramatic. At least twice a book. Especially towards the last books. I feel like the last few books it happened 3 times a book. It was so boring and predictable.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so sorry. I do not understand how anyone likes those books. It was just that happening over and over and over again, where always the main character had a secret second plan.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, but why aren't we privy to the secret second plan?
Yeah.
There's no reason. And it would happen 3 times a book, and I'm like, this isn't a plot twist.
No.
This is no longer a plot twist.
It's also very lazy writing. Learn how to do it better. Learn how to do it in a more interesting way.
Exactly.
There was a film that did that. I think it was the Oceans film that was just the women. The Women Oceans film, whichever those women.
Bloody women.
That did that. They hid a secret second plan for no reason. And I'm like, you can't. There's not.
And it's just so easy to write around it. Just put a not trustworthy character in the room.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do. You know what else I have to do? Piss.
Go piss, girl.
Oh my god, if I can
move. Macarena.
You know what else happened
What?
between now and the last recording?
What?
Taylor Swift announced a new album and got engaged. Massive month for T-Swizzle.
Massive month for people too obsessed with the blonde woman. Us.
Yeah. We love a white blonde
Yeah,
woman.
the Taylor Swift group chat that we have, which was the syndicate for the Eras tour, has really been popping off.
It really has. Yeah.
I enjoyed your utter confusion. I've drafted Travis Kelce for my thing, and you were like, don't know what those words mean. Thank you.
No, our friend Johnny.
Have you worked it out what it means yet?
I don't want to. Hang on, I'm trying to find the chat.
Charlie is also refusing to listen to the podcast episode announcing the album because she won't listen to a sport podcast.
No, and I
Not about sport.
No, I would maybe listen to a sports podcast, but not one run by men. No, I'm not doing that. Not even for Taylor Swift.
Not even for Taylor.
No, but friend Johnny message saying, gang, I drafted Kelsey way too early. Everyone pray. So I said, I don't know what this means, but best of luck. And then in brackets, please don't tell me. I don't want to know.
Okay, I won't tell you what it means.
Good, thank you. I can really live without that information. In fact, not only can I live,
know what you think
I
it
think
means.
that I'm better off without.
That's very fair.
Okay, like I'm assuming it is some kind of fantasy football.
You're correct. It's fantasy NFL.
Thing, and that is all. That's too much. I don't want to know that much. I hate that I do.
Yeah.
Like.
I still, at this old age of 30, I'm confused at fantasy football in general.
I can only assume it's like Dungeons and Dragons. But for men that think that that's cooler somehow. I don't understand FIFA. I'm assuming FIFA and fantasy, it must be basically the same thing. But like, I'm assuming you actually do the games, and I don't understand how fantasy football. No one tell me, please. This is no, and this is the thing. There is at least one man, God forbid, watching this podcast and is currently typing out a comment to explain fantasy football. Please stop. I do not consent to this information. You will be violating my consent by explaining fantasy football to me. I don't want to know. Please don't burden me with this knowledge of fantasy football. I don't care.
Maybe by the time this episode... No. Yeah, when this episode comes out, we'll be very close to TS12 dropping. We'll be so close. We're close now.
Better be good. I'm throwing a house party the following night, so...
And I said, immediately she asked me, and I didn't reply. I just said, will you be playing the new album?
Depends on the album. Not all of it. I mean, you're very welcome if you want to come and get ready and drink to it. For the sake of the sheer amount of, unfortunately, not Swifties that I am friends with, there could only be a couple of songs on it. So I invited my non-Swiftie friends that I have for some reason to this house party. And then once they all agreed, I was like, how very naive of you all to agree to a house party at my flat the day after Taylor Swift releases an album. And then they all immediately cancelled, saying that they were going to be sick that day. So
I'm sick. I can't go out.
Yeah.
So Katniss goes to the career camp and she overhears Cato say that he cut Peter in a place where he'll be very badly injured. They obviously know Peter's not dead, and Katniss knows this as well, because when someone dies, they appear in the sky the next day, and you also hear the cannon around the arena. So you're going to know by the end of that day that who is alive and who is dead. So we know Peter's not dead, but we haven't seen him now in days.
It is wild he survived as long as he did.
We'll talk about that when she finds him, because I've got a lot to say. I've got a lot to say about water consumption and things like that. And how mud...
Do you now?
And how mud works when you stick it in a wound.
I mean, it does get infected. It seems quite convenient that the infection doesn't get bad until we're getting ahead of ourselves.
Cato has cut Peter in a place where he'll be very badly injured. You're right, Cato. You're not wrong. There's a random boy from 3 with the careers. He's weak and unnoticeable, and Katniss had kind of forgotten that he was one of the alive ones left. But he's being used by the careers. And at this point, Katniss can't work out how. She can see that he's guarding this big pile of stuff that they've got, but at this point she can't really work out how or why he's there. So she's watching this big pile of stuff. They've piled all the food and weapons and everything into this pyramid, and Foxface appears, who is still alive, and Katniss like, oh okay, and she hops and jumps towards the pyramid.
I will only ever picture this as like a hopscotch.
Yeah,
is that what it's called?
Hopscotch. That's how I pictured it as well.
Yeah.
And Katniss is like, okay, so it's booby trapped, but how? Clearly Foxface has been watching and has learned whatever pattern she needs to do and is repeating it.
I couldn't be a career for many reasons, most of them about like physical fitness, but also because of memory. I would never be able to get anywhere near the supplies. I'd be like, don't remember where I have to
I don't know.
land.
I don't remember the hopscotch.
Definitely would never like enough confidence to be like, yeah, I got
No, that's no. And also, I know they have like night vision goggles, but doing it in the dark, just stumbling, like...
You know what this does feel like? It feels like a Taskmaster challenge extremo mode.
It does. It really does. Hopscotch or you die.
Yeah.
So Katniss is looking and looking and looking. She's watching Foxface, and she realizes there are piles of earth all around the field. And what she realizes is, we were told right at the beginning that when they were all rise on those metal plates and then have 60 seconds till the games start, they were surrounded by landmines, which meant if they stepped off the platform, they'd be blown up before the games even start. And as we have all agreed, I would intentionally step off the platform and be blown up rather than participating in the games.
Yes.
One of the careers, or probably the boy from 3, because 3 is the electronic district. That's where Iris and he come from, question mark, maybe?
It's the nerd district.
I could be wrong about that. Boy from 3 could be random. Has dug up the landmines and repurposed them around the pile of stuff so that if you just walk into the pile of stuff, it blows up. And that's why they're using this boy from 3. So she stands there for longer and thinks, okay, how can I use this to my advantage? What can I do? And in the end, she notices a sack of apples hanging in a bag off the side of the pyramid. Because she thinks, if I just set off like one, that's not going to do anything apart from alert them to come running. So what I need to do needs to be so destructive because they're going to come running immediately. It needs to destroy everything. So she figures if she fires an arrow at the sack, the apples will bounce and set off multiple landmines, which will send, the debris will send off multiple landmines and it will cause a chain reaction.
Yeah.
And that's what she does.
Yes.
It is quite nerve-wracking because the books make it a lot more clear than the films ever did. The films are actually terrible for this, that she has a limited supply of arrows. So the apple thing was making me nervous when she like missed and it didn't hit right. That I was like, you're not getting these arrows back, and there's no other way to get arrows in the arena.
Yeah.
Like, I do presume she can make an arrow if she had to, but it wouldn't be as good and it would take some time.
Yeah.
The running out of arrows thing was making me quite anxious.
And I guess, I mean, she couldn't make arrows because no arrowheads. She could only do like wooden arrowheads, I guess, which wouldn't be as good unless she like got lucky, found some stones of roughly the right.
Yeah, maybe. But
yeah.
But the films had a sort of, in all the films, which pissed me off, a magically refilling, what's it called? Is it called a quiver?
Yeah.
Quiver, which I think films that have people shooting arrows do a lot. They do it in Lord of the Rings, I know they do, and it pisses me off in every film because I'm like, it's a good plot point that you might run out of arrows.
Yeah.
It adds tension. Stop refilling the arrow bucket.
Yeah. So chapter 17.
Yeah.
So the apples trigger the explosion, and much like how her father got caught in an explosion, Katniss gets caught in it. I guess you could say the apple doesn't fall from the tree. I can't remember the...
Hold on. Apples are on
I can never be an apple girl.
I find this kind of scary and I just want to drive.
You can tell she's the dancer. I'm not.
I
That dance is... I mean, actually, no, it's over a year old, but I cannot retain...
I didn't remember most of that. Anyway.
You remembered a lot more than I did.
That was a good joke. That was really good. Thank you.
No, it was not. But thank you for saying it.
I liked it.
The amount of dots I had to connect in the preface to the joke makes it a bad joke. But last weekend, it was my grandma's birthday, and I bought a dress. I bought a dress with me. Obviously, I was packing for like 2 nights at my parents'. I bought very limited clothes, so I just bought my one dress that I was going to wear, and it was a leopard print dress. And I put it on, and I came downstairs, and then my mum, an hour later, went to get changed, and then she came down in a leopard print dress. She was like, oh, I thought it'd be cute if we could match. Great. Thanks, Mum. Yeah. Which was then really embarrassing because like I spent the entire day with like all of my relatives being like, oh, it's so cute that you've matched. And me being like, I got dressed first.
And I only brought this option.
Like I did not consent to this situation. Like everyone thought we did it to be cute. And I'm like, she did it to be cute. She also then put a photo on Facebook and she was like, the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So I just commented, the apple got dressed first, FYI.
So mean. Let her be cute.
It was very cute, but just very embarrassing. Everyone was like, oh, you've dressed the same. I was like, no,
she dressed the same as me.
She copied me.
Katniss is flying backwards.
Yeah. So, I mean, there's so many times when Katniss is really intelligent in these books, and there's also a few times when, like, she doesn't think things through, which I think is totally fair enough. I think the amount of actually thinking stuff through that she does in the books is like completely remarkable when you think about like the level of stress that she's under.
Yeah,
and whenever...
I actually have a note in this chapter or the next one that her logic is actually amazing, the way she thinks it through. It's
like,
really impressive.
She's so intelligent. Like my brain, especially when I'm stressed, would not do all the steps that hers does. So it is really impressive. But this is kind of one of the points where she does act before she thinks, because she does have like a few seconds between launching the arrow, the bag being cut, and then all of the apples falling.
Yeah,
that is where she could have gone
or run.
Both ideally. I mean, she wouldn't have run far, but just the sheer... I know that still there probably would have been some damage to her hearing.
Yeah.
But even doing this, like, probably would have helped a lot.
And
like,
also,
that and turning away.
Yeah. And meters in an explosion make a difference. In a few seconds, she could have run 10 meters, which would have made a massive difference.
And I'm not remotely blaming her. I mean, I would say I would have done the same note. I never would have been able to fucking work this plan out in the first place. Like, because I'm not as intelligent as she is. It's just, it's really hard. Like, it's not really hard. It's just, you know, when you root for a character because you're like, oh, you're so fucking smart. So the moment they do a less than smart thing, you're like,
no, why have you done this?
It's heartbreaking later on when she like slowly starts to realize that like, okay, she's lost half of her hearing.
Yeah.
And
it's, yeah.
So
yeah, she can't
fucking hear anything.
And she thinks it's just temporary, which makes sense. Like, an explosion has just happened, but she doesn't compute that will make her not able to walk.
Yeah.
So she stands up thinking like, I'm not injured, and starts to walk and is immediately like, I've fallen down. You can't hear, you can't walk.
Well,
no. When your hearing's been damaged like that, your whole mind is ringing. People who can't hear just can't walk, you know? It's just how it works. It's just how it works.
One of the least intelligent things you've said on this podcast, and there is stiff competition. I can no longer hear the phrase actions have consequences without hearing you going, your consequences have actions.
Anyway.
Anna thinks all deaf people are just...
Yeah, they can't walk. They can't.
Do you think everyone in a wheelchair is deaf?
Yeah. Yeah, I do, yeah.
It's not their legs, it's their ears that are the issue. Wow.
No, obviously, because the damage has happened right now. She can't walk.
She's a bit topsy-turvy.
So she's like, I can crawl.
She crawls into the bushes and she gets there just in time because the crews then appear. They're clearly like yelling at the boy from 3. She can't fucking hear anything. They assume that the trap was faulty and kind of like, one, I didn't realize this, but I don't think Katniss did either, that this is the natural assumption for them, that they think that there's just been another tribute has come along, tried to get the staff, set off the traps, and then it's caused like a chain reaction because there was a fault. So they kill that tribute because they think it's his fault, even though it wasn't, which is really fucking lucky. Because if they hadn't assumed this, they immediately would have gone looking for her.
Yeah.
Like this
but that makes a lot of sense, because your first thought wouldn't be someone shot. Like, her arrow's been blown up. There's no evidence of what she's done. So, of course, what they think makes sense. Because they even point to the sky. And I was like, why are they pointing to the sky? It's because they're looking for the tribute who set it off. And they're like, well, there's no trace of him because he's been blown up. So they kill the boy from 3 in punishment. They think another tribute has died. Because also because of the noise, you can't hear the cannons. So in the confusion, no one knows who has died in this situation.
Exactly. So it does buy her a few hours in which she sleeps in the bush. Because, they only find out that no one died in the explosion, so no one caused it by accident later on when it's then projected in the sky, and the only other person that's died, I'm guessing, is someone they've killed. Anyway, so she sleeps in this bush, and then she's woken later on by Foxface, who is like laughing and surveying like the smoking ruins of all the supplies. So she's like stood there laughing, slay. And then she looks towards where the drop-off is, and then suddenly runs away, but no one comes. And this entire book, I just forget about Thresh. And
it's quite scary. I find that her looking at the drop-off and running and us not knowing, Katniss not even knowing what's in the drop-off, quite scary. Like, I find it quite threatening.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. I need to look it up because I remember I've seen fan theories about what Thresh is doing throughout the whole thing. I think particularly after Sunrise there, and I can't remember why, but there was quite a few fan theories came out to say that Thresh was doing something rebellious or something, or he's clearly doing something quite different, just out there. I don't know. I would love to read some fan fiction interpretations of Thresh's games from his point of view, because everyone's kind of in the woods and he's the one just out there, and we never really get
Well, also, he
much.
must have a water source and a food source.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
It's very interesting, but she's clearly very scared, so she runs off.
But also, Katniss hears all of this from one of her ears. So she realizes that the damage to one of her ears was temporary and she's now hearing, although it's ringing a lot. But the other one, the one that was bleeding, she still can't hear anything out of.
Yeah.
So because she can hear, because she's awake, because she's slept, she thinks she needs to get back to the meeting point. Her and Rue didn't explain like an exact time they'd meet back. Like the plan was to meet back right after the explosion, but it wasn't like, oh, we have to, or something's wrong, because there was a lot of variables. But she's like, right, I need to get to the meeting point, see how Rue's doing, because her side of the plan seemed to work. So she heads to the meeting point first.
Yeah, so...
And Rue's not there.
Yeah, she wades upstream shooting fish, and she eats one raw.
Yeah, I was like, isn't that going to kill you? I thought you couldn't eat raw fish.
I mean...
Oh, yeah, wait, no, what's, like, there's loads of raw fish
Sushi.
dishes. What's sushi, you idiot?
Yeah, no, but the thing is, I always thought, because fish has to be sushi grade, right? Like, it's not just any old fish. It's got to be, like a certain quality. Like, I'm guessing maybe reared in a certain way. I don't know enough about sushi. I only eat vegetarian sushi. But, yeah, I always thought that, like, sushi grade was a thing.
I didn't think you could eat raw fish.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, I know there are raw fish dishes, but in the same way that, like, there is a safe way to eat beef tartare.
Yeah.
I didn't just think you could stab a fish and eat it.
Yeah, it feels like there would definitely be parasites. But maybe I don't know enough. But it feels like maybe it's the kind of thing where it's, like, fine but risky, I feel like I want to say.
It feels like a risky move from Katniss, basically.
And
Unless
also
I
just
don't know enough
gross.
about fish.
From, like, a texture. I mean, I get grossed out by seafood anyway.
Yeah.
But definitely the idea of just, like, willingly eating raw fish. Gross.
Yeah.
And I know some people are going like, she's starving. Said it before, say it, still couldn't. Ugh.
Yeah. So she waits for her for a few hours. She like eats some of the snacks in her pack and is just kind of thinking about things. She's not particularly worried because there's so many variables, and she thinks Rue is really, really good at really, really good at keeping herself alive, and B, her hearing's been back since this morning, so she would have heard a cannon.
Yeah.
And then she's like, okay, I'll go to Fire 3. I'm going to go to Fire 3. That's what I'm going to do. I'll go looking. And she heads there and it was never lit. She's like, okay. Starting to get a little bit worried now.
Yeah. So she kind of works out that something must have happened between lighting the second and the third fire. Yeah. It really, I mean, it kills me that we never get to find out a lot of the different perspectives, but like,
This thing, what happened?
What happened?
I still don't fully understand what happened. And also, I still don't fully understand what's about to happen in the next 15 minutes. Because we see it all from Kat's point of view. At this point, Rue is not hurt in any way.
Yeah.
But is Rue ambushed up a tree with the boy below her?
Yeah.
And Rue somehow then knows she's in danger, which is why she hasn't lit Fire 3 or moved. And then somehow slips up, messes up, comes out the tree in the wrong place, and that's how she gets caught. I don't know, and we never find out. And I know that's okay. This is a book solely from Katniss's perspective, very limited from Katniss's perspective. But also as an adult reader of a child's book, I'm just kind of like, but what's going on? I want to know.
I think she must have been trapped in the tree because there was someone, and either she got away from that person or people, and then she ran into the other person, or it was always the guy, and she thought she had got away, but she hadn't.
Yeah. They're the only two options that make sense. But this has been going on a while. If she never lit Fire 3, we are now on the next day, a full sleep cycle later. Katniss is hearing repaired. Katniss waiting a few hours out the meeting point. We're 24 hours after she lit Fire 3. So she's been stuck in a certain situation for quite a while.
Yeah, which is, why I'm assuming she was stuck. A bit like Katniss was before she did the tracker jacket situation. But what we don't find out is how then she got lured down.
What I wonder is the luring down is the 4-note scream.
What do you mean?
So the first noise that's ever made is the 4 notes to let her know she's safe. Do. So at that point, Rue was signalling to Katniss in general, had she been doing it periodically every hour, every half hour, that she was safe. Katniss calls back and says, Rue, and then Rue screams. So is it Katniss saying Rue that gets Rue down from the tree and then she gets caught? Why would Rue signal she was safe if she was trapped?
That's why I kind of think that maybe it's a situation where she thought she had gotten away, but she hadn't.
Yeah.
Or she had gotten away from one person and then
it's the second
unfortunately runs into someone else.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you know, that's I like that we don't know, but it's also torture that we don't know, and we will never know.
I suppose it's Suzanne giving us the same torture that Katniss goes through.
Yeah.
Like, I'm finding it frustrating, but also I'm meant to find it frustrating because Katniss is going to find this frustrating.
Yeah.
It's kind of, what's weird to me, I think, is Katniss never acknowledges frustration at not knowing what happened. Like, that is never acknowledged in the text.
Yeah.
So yeah, she goes looking between Fire 2 and 3, kind of thinking in her head, I'd like to run into someone I could, kind of angry. And she hears the 4-note Mockingjay call, which they agreed would let each other know that they're safe. Katniss calls back. I wrote the word calls. I can't remember if she calls back with the 4-note call or calls back the word Rue. And then hears a scream and describes the scream, and this was really horrifying to read, as only Rue could have made it because it sounds so childlike, and Rue's the youngest in the arena.
It's the thing is, she later starts to think about the guy that killed her, and like starts to think about his family and his friends, and feeling a bit bad. And like, I'm like, oh yeah, it is really sad. Like, he's a victim too, and like he is, but it's so next level to kill like the child. Like, don't get me wrong, they're all children, but like to literally kill like an 11-year-old, feels so beyond anything else. Like, to not kill for defense, but to kill because you're hunting. And yeah, someone who is like a child in the most child fucking sense of it is so fucking... You just didn't need to do it. You didn't need to do it.
The only defense I can give him, not in the way I'm defending anything he did, but Rue was shouting for Katniss, so he must have known Katniss was around. So it wasn't just like, I'm killing this completely defenseless child. By her screaming Katniss, he knows they're a team. So he is knocking down like the team of them. But to think he wouldn't die in the retaliation is dumb as fuck.
Yeah, but like, I don't agree with that, because I think, one, he's clearly already attacking her when this happens. And then also, so Katniss actually like knows that because she yells back, right? So she knows that she is essentially alerting him or whoever it is to her presence, and therefore putting herself at a disadvantage, and that's what she's hoping, because she's hoping to distract them from Rue so Rue can get away. So yeah, like really the logical thing for him to do would have been to leave Rue to like fucking guard himself.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that would be the logic. Katniss at this point is not disguising her running. So he can hear her crashing through the forest. In my mind, you've got the child in a net already. You've done a bad.
Yeah.
Throw the spear at Katniss. Katniss is a 16-year-old, very intense opponent with a bow and arrow.
Yeah. Also has a ranged weapon.
Use that moment where she crashes through and realizes Rue is in a net to throw the spear. That's the most logical step.
Yeah, and I just think,
instead he kills the child.
Even if I was in there and really wanted to survive for some reason, say I was in Katniss's position where I had like a younger sister that I wanted to come back for, you just leave the child in there alone, like the child, like the 11-year-old. Like, if there was one in there, you'd just be like, that's for someone else to deal with. Yeah. Right? Like, you wouldn't actively target them. I feel like if I saw them, I'd be like, well, that's none of my business.
It's none of my business. I'm assuming they're just going to die anyway.
I don't know. I guess it's really hard to say like why killing an 11-year-old is any different to killing like a 12 or a 13 or a 14 but like it just is.
An 11-year-old that's calling for help. Yeah. Screaming in fear. Like a child is. Yeah. You've got her. You know help is coming. Kill the help. Like, I don't really understand this boy's motivations apart from going for the easiest thing.
Yeah. It's the whole defenseless thing, right? Like, an 11-year-old is inherently, like, defenseless. Yeah. Like, they are so young that really, even if they have a weapon, they are still defenseless. Yeah. It just feels like particularly low blow. Yeah. But yeah, so Katniss runs in just in time to see Rue like yelling Katniss and reaching towards her, as she then just gets fucking shanked.
Yeah, and the chapter ends there.
Happy times.
It's alright, she's not dead yet. She's not dead, she's still alive. If we stop now, she's still alive.
Yeah, exactly. And that's where the book ends. That sure was a chapter. I'm bloody starving, actually.
Well, luckily we've ordered food.
We've ordered Thai food. So we're going to go eat that. Yep. And we'll see you in the next one, guys.
Is there anything else we do in the outro?
Don't think so.
Don't think so. Thanks for listening.
All right. Bye, lads.
So long.
Farewell. Auf Wiedersehen. Goodbye. Oh, I thought it was good night. I've never actually seen whatever that's from. What's that from?
You've never seen The Sound of Music? No. Are you being serious?
Yeah.
I think I've probably seen that film upwards of 25 times. I used to watch it every time I used to go around to Granny's. She had limited VHSs.
I just watched Tom and Jerry.
No. used to watch that all the time. I know that film almost off by heart. I hate to go and leave this pretty side. Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Drunk Girls Who Read, a podcast by Goblet of Wine Productions.
If you'd like to follow us around the internet, you can find our social media links in the description.
Or if you'd like to support us further, you can find us on Patreon, where you'll get access to bonus episodes and behind-the-scenes content.
Thank you so much for listening to this podcast, and we'll see you in the next episode.
Bye!
Bye!